and you get something like, we don't recognize the certificate authority that signed the certificate, or the certificate expired. These are things that you shouldn't just bypass and say, okay, no problem, just keep going, right? No, these are alerts that you need to be aware of. Rogue Wi-Fi hotspots, right? So this is not necessarily vulnerabilities in SSL, but we talked about it. This is opportunities for people to inject themselves into your route, right? So avoid situations. Avoid situations where you are essentially, when you're joining Wi-Fi hotspots, know what you're dealing with, right? Know whose it is, right? Ask the questions, find out. Don't just join any Wi-Fi. Oh, there's a Wi-Fi hotspot over here that does not have a lock on it, which means it doesn't require a password. Oh yeah, you just want my email and click accept the terms and off I go? Sweet. No. Right? No. I was sitting in a Starbucks recently. Every Friday I like to go and sit at Starbucks and just work for a few hours quietly away from my kids. And jumped onto their Starbucks Google network, right? And there were some interesting things going on when you put Wireshark on, right? To see traffic going on. I wasn't trying to go and inject myself as a man-in-the-middle attack. I could have gone and done an ARP poisoning and gone in there and injected myself as the router and kind of pushed things all through if I really wanted to, but I chose not to. But I could, right? And then if you're joining open network, there's not a lot of security, et cetera. There's a lot of challenges there, right? So just be aware. One thing that I do, and it's recommended, it's not completely addressing SSL vulnerabilities for man-in-the-middle attacks or server vulnerabilities, but is always a good practice, use VPN. So as soon as I jumped on the network, never mind that this is Oracle network and supposedly secure, I'm on my VPN, right? The good news is between then, even if I'm going through an ISP, that being Oracle, VPN allows you to have security at the lowest communication level. So data is encrypted all the way down, and it's actually going through that VPN gateway. From there, it's going to my end address. So it's going from where I'm at to my ISP or whoever's providing me the access point through them, all the way to my VPN gateway, right? And then from there, it's going out. So the nice thing about that is I can be in Russia and connect to a VPN in the US, and it looks to the websites like my traffic's coming from the US, right? If the Russian government doesn't prevent me from connecting to a US VPN. But it's good. But what it doesn't do is once you exit your VPN gateway, that point of presence, out to the end, it's still open. So someone can inject themselves in the middle, right? But the nice thing about that is between my device and that VPN server, secure all the way to the lowest capability of communication, network communication. So it's a good practice, right? Always. Last slide just talks about, as I mentioned earlier, the browser support matrix. So latest versions as of today, as far as I know. Chrome and Firefox and Safari I trust. IE, I believe I trust as well. Edge, I'm not sure. I took that from Wikipedia, so I could be, I could be off, but I think this is the latest version. Of course, you want to talk about Safari doesn't support TLS 1.3 just yet, right? But the rest of the browsers do, right? So if you're looking for servers that are deploying 1.3, it's good. All of them are things like Poodle and Crime. They're not, which are standard stuff. They're not susceptible to. Heartbleed, we talked about, is outside the purview of this. SSL stripping, right, is controlled by the HSTS, and just good practices on the later browsers. There are other vulnerabilities that I haven't mentioned here because we didn't cover them, so there's no point in listing them. The great thing about it is most of the browsers, and I use Chrome and Firefox exclusively, allow you to control the protocols, right, that you're supporting and using. Edge is temporary, meaning I think once you exit, you can't. I don't think that it takes effect long term. Safari doesn't give you that control at all, right? You don't control what protocols or suites you can use. And that's it. Questions? So it's a mix of high level and some in-depth stuff. I do want to show you. And I'm going to show this. Let me come out of there. And who's ever seen Wireshark? Alex, I know you've seen it, so I'm not even going to. All right. So,
is it a software package or is it?
yes, it's software. And so Wireshark, in essence, what it allows me to do is it allows me to capture